Okay. Can you see my screen? I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, fine. So, fourth chapter, that is flowering plants, is a unit 2. Chapter is the flower. So we know what all we have to study in a flower, the basic structure of the bisexual flower, various functions of different various parts, and then complete and incomplete flowers we have, then inflorescence and presentation. All these terms, this will be coming in the exams also. Some terms like presentation, inflorescence, these terms are very important and will come in the exams. So yeah, let us start with the first topic, 4.1, structure of a bisexual flower. On page number 33, structure of a bisexual flower. Now you all know what is a bisexual flower. Okay, when I am saying you things, when I am telling the things or telling the definitions, you can write extra things in your side also. In the textbook itself, there are some little spaces, so you can write it there, or you can make different notes also. It's up to you where you want to write. You can write it in your notebook also or in your textbook also. But try to write, because so that you will understand very fastly. Like I'm saying bisexual flower. Just write about that. Both male and female gametes are present. That's it. Bisexual means both the sexes are present, both the male and female gametes, or we can say that both the male and female reproductive organs are present in the flower, and that's why the flower is known as bisexual flower. So what you will write when you are asked what is a bisexual flower? A flower which consists of both the male and female reproductive parts. Then you have the definition of flower. It is a specialized shoot which the leaves are modified into floral structures. Now you know we have discussed in the previous class what is a flower. It is just a modified sepal, or we can say a modified leaf. That is a flower, a modified leaf which is on the shoot system. You know, a root system and shoot system. Plants have root system and shoot system. So leaves and flowers, everything is found in the shoot system, the upper side. So this is nothing but a modified leaf. Then, then we have the whole flower, talking about the flower. From the bottom, if we discuss from the bottom, if we consider the bottommost part, what is that? A stalk. You can see the paragraph also. I'm not reading everything. So at the bottommost part is a stalk, or we can say a pedicel, which is just supporting the flower. Why? Because this flower is attached to the stem of the plant, or we can say the branches. It is attached. So for that attachment, this stalk is supporting the flower so that it could hold there itself. That's it. Then above the stalk, we have, okay, there are some flowers also where stalk is not present. Like thalamus is present, and from thalamus, stem or branch continues. Stalk is not present. So those flowers are known as sessile flowers. You have it in your book, underline that. Some flowers may be without stalk, or we can say sessile. Then then above the stalk, or we can say at the tip of the stalk, is the thalamus or the receptacle. It is nothing but a cup-shaped structure which further continues to the female reproductive organs, or we can say female reproductive parts. This thalamus or receptacle, basically it is there so that it continues to the female reproductive parts. Now, okay, so do you want some examples of sessile flowers? I can give you sessile flowers which do not have a stalk. You can write examples there in the space there. Wheat, rice, saffron, etc. Wheat, rice, and saffron. I hope you are writing wheat, rice, and saffron. So you can give any one or two example in the exam also. That would be better if you give examples of sessile flower. Then I told you a receptacle or a thalamus, it is there. It continues to the female reproductive organs. That means the reproductive organs, or we can say that all the organs grow from the thalamus. You can see the diagram on your page number 33, a diagram of flower. You can see from receptacle, what all is coming out. A sepal is coming out from the receptacle. The petal is coming out from the receptacle. The ovary, the stigma, everything, the anther, this male gametes, everything is arising from the receptacle, right? So basically receptacle is the point from where the organs grow. Write it down because I don't think it's in your book, or it may be there later, but just write it down. Underline receptacle and right below that, organs grow from here. All the organs grow from here, the flower organs. Then the next thing is the floral parts are born in the thalamus in four whorls. Now, you all know from thalamus, all these organs are arising, the floral parts also. So they are present in four whorls. Four whorls are there. First whorl is the sepal. Okay, you can see the diagram from bottom. If we start, we can see the first whorl. You have to start from the outside, not from the inside. If you start from inside, first whorl will be the female reproductive parts. But if when we consider a flower, you have to always start from outside. Then come to inside portions. So the first whorl is the sepal. You can see sepal also known as calyx. Okay, they are collectively known as calyx. Then the second whorl is the bright colored petals, also known as collectively known as corolla. Right? Third whorl, okay, this under this petals, or we can say petals are the covering. So inside these petals, what are present? The male parts. You can see the diagram. When I'm reading this, consider the diagram also, so you will understand better. So inside the petals, can you see male gametes coming out from the receptacle? That is the stamen. You can see some filament-like structure and with a bilobe structure on the top, that is anther. So collectively they form the stamen, and stamen is the male reproductive part. So it is covered by the petals. So inside petals we can see third whorl is the male parts. So you know the symbol of male is given by a circle and an arrow upwards. So these are the male parts. Long thread-like structures somewhat projecting out, each usually ending in a bilobed tip. Now what is a long thread-like structure? This filament. In the diagram you can see labeling filament. This is the long thread-like structure and ending in a bilobed tip. Bilobed tip is anther. Then collectively anther and filament, they form the stamen. And then this whole male reproductive system collectively is known as, that means the stamen and the filament, everything, they collectively are known as, just a minute. Yes. So collectively they are known as androecium, the male reproductive parts, the stamen, that means the anther and filament together form the stamen, and collectively they are known as the androecium. Like we human being also have a reproductive system. So similarly, plants also have this reproductive system and they are collectively known as androecium. Then each stamen consists of thread-like filament and bilobe anther. We have already talked about this. So anther and filament, they form the stamen. Then the last whorl, or the fourth whorl, is the female part, which is the innermost part, which is present at the innermost side, innermost center. It is present, the female part, and is represented by a circle with a plus sign downwards. You can see the symbol for female. Then the female part is the pistil. Okay, what are the male parts? Stamens, and the female part is pistil. Now this pistil is formed of small single units of carpels. That means many carpels are fused together and they form the pistil. Now this is collectively called, that means this carpel, this female part, and the functions inside, this is collectively known as gynoecium. In male, it is known as androecium. In female, it is gynoecium. Then please underline these things, the pistil, the fused carpels, so you can understand fused carpel form the pistil, and they are collectively known as gynoecium. Each carpel now consists of three things: ovary, style, and stigma. Like in male, stamens was there. Stamens consisted of anther and filament. Here in female, ovary consists this thing. Carpel consists of ovary, style, and stigma. Three things are there. And in male, salmon consists of anther and filament. Two are there. So is this much clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Then come to 4.1.1, complete and incomplete flowers. So we have already got an idea of a flower. Like what is the first one? The sepal. Second one is the petal. Third one is the male part, which is collectively known as androecium. Fourth part is the female part, which is collectively known as the gynoecium. So now moving forward, we have complete and incomplete flowers. Now, what is a complete flower, or we can say a perfect flower? There are some flowers in which all the four whorls are not present. That means some of them are missing. Maybe one or two will be missing. So the parts which have all the four whorls are known as complete flowers, and the flowers in which one or more set is missing is known as incomplete flowers. Underline that definition, underline that sentence. Incomplete or imperfect, complete or perfect. Very easy to remember. Complete means it has all the four whorls. And incomplete means one or two sets may be missing. Then we have essential and non-essential parts of a flower. So what is the essential part? Like how the flower will grow. What is essential? The flower is supposed to grow. The flower is supposed to produce new offsprings. Okay, they are supposed to pollinate. They are supposed to form male and female reproductive gametes. So we can say the essential part are those parts which contribute in the reproduction process. And the non-essential part is those which do not contribute in the reproduction process, which are simply present there. Not simply, they have some function, like we will discuss it later. The essential part, now you have understood, essential means those who contribute in the reproduction process, and the non-essential parts are those which do not contribute in the reproductive process. Now, the essential part are the female and male reproductive parts. That means what are contributing in the this thing, the reproduction process, the male and female reproductive organs and parts. So we can say the male and female parts, that is collectively androecium and gynoecium together form the essential system, and the non-essential will consist of obviously the sepal and the petal. Now, what is the function of sepal and petal? Sepal is basically present there for the protection of the petals. Okay, because sepal is the outermost wall, the first wall is sepal. So that's why it is present, so that it could prevent the sepals and the petals. And the petals is present because it should prevent the inner parts, that is the male and female reproductive parts. So that's why petal is present. Also, petal has one more function. Petal is brightly colored. It secretes nectar. So that's why it can attract insects for pollination purpose. So these are the two functions of petals. Now come to page number 34. Page number 34. Yes. Now there are some flowers in which this sepal and petal look similar to each other, right? We cannot differentiate between the petal and the sepal. They look very similar to each other, and they are known as tepals. So if you are asked what is a tepal, so you have to write these are the flowers in which both the petal and the sepal looks similar to each other. Clear? So tepals is collectively known as perianth. Like we have collective names for male reproductive system also, the androecium, and for female we have the gynoecium. We collectively call them as gynoecium. So here petal and sepal who look similar is known as tepal, and this is collectively known as the perianth. Okay, so basically this tepal you can find it in tulips. You can write the example in your book. I don't know it's given or not. It's not given. So you can write the example below that, underline tepals. Below that, write this example, tulips. 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 Have you written? Everyone, are you writing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So please, if you give examples, it will be better for you. You will gain more marks, not more marks, but yeah, the answer will be much clear if you present some examples. So you can give this example of tulip. If tulip is asked, sorry, if tepals is asked, so you can give the example of tulips. Now there are green perianth known as sepals, like we already told in some plants like tulips. All the petals and the sepals look similar to each other. So we can't differentiate them properly. But here we are saying that green perianth or the green tepals look like sepals. Like the green ones are known as sepals. For the differentiation, we use this method. Green ones are known as sepals and non-greens known as petaloid. So there are green ones which look like sepal, which properly look like sepal. They are sepaloid, and non-greens are known as petaloid, because you know a sepal is green in color. The leaf, the sepal is green in color, and the petals is different one. So we can differentiate from the structure or we can differentiate from the color. The green ones are known as sepaloid and the non-greens are known as petaloid. Then moving forward, we have bracts. So these are small terms. It may come in your exam, like if you have MCQs and also it will obviously come. So what is the bract? When a flower arises in the axil of the leaf-like structure, it is known as a bract. You can see the diagram. Example is bougainvillea. Large colored bracts bear the flowers. So can you see the bracts? That means from the axil of the leaf, a bract is arising. This is in the case of bougainvillea. So when you want to define bract, when you're asked to define bract, you will write flower arises from the axil of a leaf-like structure. And you can give the example of bougainvillea. Now, this bracts may be green also, and sometimes they are colored also. It depends on the flower in which they are present. Depends on the pigments present on the flower. So sometimes they are green, sometimes they are colored. Now, sometimes this bract is also mistaken like a petal, but this is not a petal. You all know bract is not a petal. It is just when a flower is arising from the axil of the leaf-like structure. So we cannot say it is a flower. Sometimes people mistake it as a flower also. The actual flower in this case is small, somewhat cylindrical and attached on the inner side of the bract. So actual flower is very small. We cannot actually identify the flower in this particular flower. That means the bougainvillea. Then we have the nectaries. Now you all know most of the flowers, they secrete nectar. That means what is a nectar? It's a fragrant, a sweet fragrant which will attract some insects for pollination purpose. So this, what is a nectary? Here the term is nectaries. So nectaries is nothing but the cells which secrete nectar, right? Nectar secreting cells, we can say the cells which secrete nectar are known as the nectaries, collectively known as nectaries. Now, the nectar, you know, basically which insects attract to the flowers for their pollination purpose, for producing their food. Bees, honeybees. Honeybees is the most prominent, most known example, right? So honeybees, they, jump from flower to flower and they do cross pollination, etc. So that So these flowers which have nectar secreting cells who secrete nectar, they are known as nectaries. And basically honeybees do the cross pollination by sucking those nectar, right? Now, so you can see one example is there. In some cases, nectaries are very prominent as in nasturtium. You can see this yellow flower. You must have seen nearby your houses also. This flower is very common everywhere. So nasturtium, this is a nectar secreting cell. You can see the diagram labeled nectary. Below this flower, that means a cross section is cut here and the nectary is shown. You can see it is present below the flower end. That means you can say the ovary, below the ovary it is present. Then we have sexuality in flowers. It is again what we have said in the previous lecture. That means when we discussed the first topic, bisexual flower, okay, we did not talk about unisexual flower. So if bisexual is two gametes or male and female gametes together, what will be unisexual? Obviously, there will be only one of them, either female or male gametes. So let us read this. Male, female, and bisexual flowers. The anthers of the stamens produce pollen, which forms the male cells. The ovary of the carpel bears the ovule, which encloses the egg cell. So, you all know male reproductive part is the anther, or we can say the stamen, collectively the stamen, and female is the carpel. Okay, or we can say carpels fused together, pistil. We can say both. So, when we talk about male, we have stamens which have anthers. Anthers are the bilobe structure connected to the filaments. So, in the stamens, we have anthers. Now, these anthers, they produce pollens. Pollen grains are produced, and those pollen grains are known as the male gametes. And in ovary, you can see some egg-like structure, small egg-like structure. They are not visible also. They are very minute. And in ovary, ovules are present. Ovules give rise to egg cells, which are the female gametes. Now, you already know bisexual flower means both male and female gametes are present. For example, you can take hibiscus, rose, lilies. In your book, example is given. Underline that. I told you example is must. You have to at least give one or two example. Then you have the unisexual flower. Now, what is unisexual? One of these is present. Either the male gamete or the female gamete is present. So you can take the example papaya and palm. Underline these things which I am saying. This is very important. So unisexual is papaya and palm. Either one gamete, either of the gametes is present. That means either male or female. Now, in unisexual, where only the stamens are present, or we can say the stamens are male organs. So we can say them as staminate flowers. We can name them as staminate flowers. And similarly, as in flower which only contains the carpels or the female gametes, we can say pistillate flowers. So if in exam, don't get confused whether if it is asked what is staminate flower, what is pistillate flower, can simply write staminate means in a unisexual flower which contains only the male gametes. Okay, what is pistillate flower? A unisexual flower which only contains the female parts or the female gametes. You can also name them as carpels. Clear? Is this much clear to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So then we'll move forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we have the neuter flower. What is a neuter flower? This is also very simple. So these terms would be confusing for you, but don't get confused. Try to read it once or twice. You will get the point and you will not get confused anymore. So neuter flower is where both the male and female part is not present. That means both the gametes, both the reproductive parts, the male and the female is lacking. There are some flowers which lack both organs, the male and female ones. So example is ray florets of sunflower. So it is pistillate but sterile. It is pistillate. That means female one is somewhere present, but it is sterile because it is lacking the gametes. Okay, it is lacking the gametes. Then, so this is neutral flower. These short terms, please try to read this because there are many chances that it will come in exam. So, pistillate means you already know a unisexual flower in which the female part carpel is present. So here this ray florets of sunflower, this is pistillate. That means the carpels are present, but it is not able to give rise to the young ones. It is sterile. Sterile means it cannot give birth to the young ones, cannot produce new ones. Clear? So this is a neutral flower in which both the organs are lacking. Now we have the general description of the floral parts. Just a minute. Yes. General description of the floral parts. So first we have the calyx. Obviously, when we study a flower, we all know the outermost whorl or the first whorl. The outermost is the first whorl, which is the calyx. Calyx means the sepals. So basically, usually what happens in each flower, we can only see 5 number of sepal. They are 5 in number usually. But in some cases, they may be more, like they go 6 to 7 in number. So there are types of sepals also, like polysepalous and gamosepalous. Now, what is poly? Poly refers to free, and gamo refers to fuse. Like gametes, gametes are fusing. So in that way, you can remember gamo means fuse, and poly is free. So polysepalous means free sepals, the flowers which have free sepals, and gamo means the flowers which have fused sepals. That means you can see the diagram also. Polysepalous, you can see the sepals are free. They are not attached to each other. They are freely in the atmosphere. They are just free and they are not attached anywhere. They are only attached at the middle together, but they are not attached from the sides. And you can see the gamosepalous ones. They are attached. They look something like a cone-like structure. So these are the gamosepalous ones. So in which thing you can see, or in which plant or flower you can see gamosepalous? I guess in hibiscus you can see, or maybe in some different plants are there. I'm not getting the name. In hibiscus you can see gamosepalous. Okay, these are fused together and forms this gamosepalous thing. Now we have the epicalyx here. So epicalyx is additional pair of calyx. That means an additional pair is present. Okay, just a minute. I'll show you. Okay, see the screen? So, okay, here you can't see, here only you flower is seen. Just a minute. Can you see this? One pair is present on the upper side, one pair is present in the lower side. That means additional pair of sepals is present. Can you see this? Everyone, can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, here in this
Yes,
diagram.
ma'am.
Look at this diagram. This first one is the calyx, second one is epicalyx. Now you know what is epicalyx? Additional pair of sepals, or you can say additional pair of calyx is present. So this is basically found in China rose, hibiscus. Okay, China rose is the same thing, hibiscus. So we can give this example in epicalyx. That is hibiscus, or we can say in Tilia, cotton also, we can see additional pair of calyx and sepals, or we can say sepals. Clear? So this is epicalyx. Yes. So we have the epicalyx, additional pair of calyx or sepals is present basically in hibiscus. Another examples you can take Tilia, cotton, that means Malvaceae family. Okay. Then we have the sepals function. I already told you what does sepals do. Sepals perform photosynthesis. Okay, they sometimes perform photosynthesis and they protect the young flower bud. Okay, from external damage, they will protect the young flower bud. You see, when the flower is in bud condition, it is covered by these sepals. So basically, the sepal is protecting the young bud. Okay, so that it do not get damaged from external sources. So this is all about sepal. Okay, 5 in number usually. Sometimes it may be more. There are two types, polysepalous, gamosepalous. Poly means free, gamo means fused. Then we have the epicalyx, that means additional pair of calyx or sepals is present. Example, we can take hibiscus. Then we have the functions of sepal, that is to perform photosynthesis and to protect the bud. Okay, that means young flower bud. When it is in growing condition, it will protect the bud from external damage. That's it. Then we have the description of corolla. Now you know what is a corolla? Corolla is the name or collectively given collective name given to the petals. Now petals also, they are sometimes double whorled. That means they are also like this epicalyx, additional pair is present. So like similarly, petals also, in some cases, only in some plants, there are one or two plants, they are double whorled. You can write the example. You can see this in poppy. Poppy plant, have you seen? Poppy fields are there. Go there and see, just examine them if you have went any time to a field. You can see poppy plants, they have double whorled petals. Okay, they are double whorled. Also in water lily, you can see spiral. Water lily has spiral ones. Now, similarly, like sepals, we have polypetalous and gamopetalous. You know what is poly? Free. Gamo means fused. So free petals and fused petals. So you can see here on page number 35, figure 4.5, kinds of corolla. Free petals, petals fused in a tubular form, petals fused somewhat funnel shape. So three types, three shapes you can see. So the first one is free, where the petals are not attached. Okay, it is only attached at the center. Otherwise, they are free. And one flower, the third one, see, it is funnel shaped. The petals are attached to each other. They are fused ones. So this is the example. Okay, these are the flowers. You can see polypetals and gamopetals. Then what is the function of the petals? To attract insect for pollination by their bright color and by their nectar secreting cells. They produce nectar, sweet fragrance and sweet, liquid like substance they produce. So the insects like honeybees, mainly the honeybees, they are attracted towards the flowers. Also, what they do, they protect the male and female reproductive parts. Inside petals, you can see the stamens and the ovary. So basically, they are protected by the petals, outside petals. So this is the description of petals. Now we have androecium. You all know what is an androecium? The stamens, collectively known as the stamens, is collectively known as androecium, the male part. So in every flower, the stamen is not fixed. The number may vary in each flower. Now, each stamen consists of a long filament and an anther attached to its extremity. The anther is usually two-lobed. Each lobe has two pollen sacs. Now, we already studied that anther produces pollen grains. Now, from the where this pollen grain is coming, each anther, that is anther is two-lobed. And in each lobe, pollen sacs are present. Okay, equally in each lobe, pollen sacs are present. So there are total in 4 sacs are in total, and they produce the pollen grains. So when fully can mature, the pollen sacs rupture to liberate pollen grains. The pollen grains are generally powdery particles of different shapes and sizes. Now, pollen sacs contains pollen grains. When they are matured, they are just ruptured out or thrown out, and they generally look like powdered particles. They are very minute. You must have seen pollen grains. You can take the pollen grains of sunflower also. They are very minute. So they rupture out and they are finally, considered as individual pollen grains. Then, in androecium, stamens may be free, polyandrous, as in petunia, or joined and organized in single, double, or several groups. You can see the diagram below, cohesion, joining of stamens. That means in androecium, we are talking about the male part. Sometimes the stamens may be fused, like we talked about sepals and petals. Stamens can also be fused and free. So free ones are known as polyandrous. Here we don't use sepalous and petalless words. This is androecium. So that's why we are using polyandrous. Example is petunia. Underline that example, petunia. Or joined and organized in single, double, or several groups. Somewhere they are, in some plants you can see joint sepals, joint stamens also. Like you can see this diadelphous, polyadelphous, two groups, several groups, and monoadelphous, that means one group. So this monoadelphous you can see in China rose. Okay. Example is there in your right hand side, monoadelphous. Stamens are united in one group. Okay, that means one filament is there, stamens are united in a one group. This is found in China rose, cotton, etc. Then you have the diadelphous one. In this, the filament are united into two bundles, and two bundle filaments will have stamens each on their upper side. Then example we can see P. Okay, P is the example for diadelphous. Then polyadelphous is there. Filaments are united in several groups. You can see several filaments are there, and several these stamens are there on the top, and they are in several groups. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are there. So this is found in Bombax. When you study things, when you read these paragraphs, just consider diagrams also, so that it will be very easy for you to understand things. Yes. So have you all understood this much? Everyone, can I get a yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes. So this is little confusing. I know this is little confusing for you all, but if you go through this particular chapter once or twice, like just read it once. You don't have to buy hard things. Just read it once. And when you are reading, just consider this diagrams. You will get the point immediately. Like from this diagram itself, you can say monoadelphous. One filament is there. Many stamens are on the top. Mono. That means one. Then di means two filaments, and then each of the filament is having stamens on the top. That means diadelphous 2. Then polyadelphous means several. Poly refers to more than two, or we can say several. So you can see more filaments are there, and each of the filament group is having more stamens, some stamens over them. So this is polyadelphous. So if from these diagrams, if you consider the diagrams, you will get it, you will find it very easy to learn. So please go through the diagrams also. Now we have the gynoecium. We will do it in the next class. We will discuss in the next class. Do you have any doubt in today's lecture? If you have any doubt, you can ask me right now. I'll clear that. And then gynoecium we will do in the next chapter. Sorry, next period. No doubts?
No doubt, ma'am.
Okay. So yes, okay.
No
Thank you
doubt,
everyone.
ma'am.
So, yes. Okay, if you don't have any